One time as a kid, about 10 years old, I went to the grocery store with my dad. I walked past the candy aisle and there was an open bag of candy. It was my favorite, the sugary orange gummy candies. So I took one. I knew I shouldn't have and knew it was wrong. I knew my parents would be upset if they found out, but I did it anyway. Guilt got to me and stayed with me even as I kept ignoring it. I kept shoving it down, and yet for 10 years, I thought about it every time I passed that store. All because of one little piece of candy. You see, guilt is feeling bad about doing something wrong. Years later, after getting married, I stopped by the store owner and I told him that I stole one piece of candy, and I felt guilty ever since. Now, ladies, this is a funny little story, but no matter. Guilt is guilt. As I became an adult and found myself in situations that nearly destroyed me, my guilt over my choices and actions was even more intense, all-consuming and debilitating. I want you to understand that overcoming guilt and shame will be one of the most difficult things that you will ever do. Guilt says, I did something wrong. And shame says, something is wrong with me. In my darkest years, I could relate to the scripture, Psalm 38, verse 4, so well. My guilt has overwhelmed me like a heavy load. It is more than I can bear. My own guilt and shame was heavy. It truly was more than I could bear. In this place of guilt and shame, we still want to think we have some goodness left in us. So we try to fake it and overcompensate because of the chaos we feel inside. A healthy person with a healthy conscience can appropriately feel and handle guilt. The guilt acts as a warning signal telling us that something is off in relationship with others. Healthy guilt helps us navigate towards making positive changes. Unhealthy guilt results from an unhealthy conscience, making you feel guilty about every little thing you do. We want to have a healthy conscience and a healthy view of guilt, so ultimately we can feel guilt as a warning signal without having to feel guilty. If we want to be guilt-free, we must face it and then confess it. What does that look like for you? I can tell you that because of confession, I am living a guilt-free life. Guilt-free means to be transparent with ourselves, God, and others. It means accepting the sacrifice Jesus made for us on the cross. My problem was I did not accept that sacrifice. I thought I had to pay for my own debt. I made very bad choices, and now I had to live with the consequences. And how did I pay for my guilt and shame? I began to self-destruct. People would tell me how strong and amazing I was, but in my heart, I knew I wasn't all that. I felt like a bad girl on the inside, and planning an affair seemed like the perfect way to live out what I believed about myself. So that's what I did. I didn't know in that moment I was self-destructing, but looking back, I see that clearly. My guilt had turned into full-blown shame. There was an internal conflict inside of me. I didn't believe that I deserved anything good. The external me, the successful businesswoman that everyone saw, was not the real me. And I couldn't reconcile who people saw me as. I couldn't handle the pressure and struggle inside of me. We as women have been around since the beginning of time, and Eve is our mama. And she's our example, and our behaviors have not changed since then. The struggle with guilt and shame starts with Eve and runs throughout the Bible. Feeling shame and guilt, she hid in the garden. We still try to hide from God. It's silly, but it's what we do. Remember Bathsheba, who had an affair with King David? She lost her husband in battle, who, by the way, was sent to battle by the king himself. and then found out she was pregnant. Do you think she felt guilt and shame? Or Sarah, who couldn't get pregnant, gave her servant over to her husband and then hated her so much that she ran them out of town, and they lived in the desert. Do you think that Sarah felt guilt and shame? Guilt is a universal feeling, even though we all feel and experience it differently based on where we're born, how we're raised, and our family of origin. We do something bad, we feel guilty. Sharing our wounds as we confess our stories will help us experience less guilt over time. Jesus is the example in this. After he died, he made a few appearances on earth. And during one of these times, he appeared to a room full of disciples, but one of them, Thomas, didn't believe it was him. He needed proof and wanted to see the wounds of Jesus. Now, Jesus, being the Son of God, could have performed a miracle to prove to the disciples that he was who he said he was. But instead, he humbled himself and showed his friends his wounds, pulling back his robe and revealing his scars. He humbled himself and showed the wounds so that they would know him. That's exactly what we're doing in this group. We're pulling back our robes of pretense so that we can know each other deeply. As we share our stories, we allow others to know us. Knowing someone and being known is the desire of our hearts, and yet at the same time, it's incredibly scary to be known for who we really are. Our wounds, the deepest parts of our soul, are hard to share, but when we do, it gives us life. It's like a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. When I started to confess, I felt like I had wings to fly, and it changed my entire life. It's what happens when we begin to share our wounds. We can finally be free from the guilt and shame of our past. This kind of freedom is worth all the hard work and effort a lifestyle of confession takes.